Today we're setting up a bioactive enclosure for some Northern Spiny-tail Geckos. We've got a 60 centimeter by 60 centimeter by 45 centimeter deep Reptile 1 glass vivarium. We've got a universal rock background already glued onto the back using silicone, and we've got a Arcadia Jungle Dawn LED to provide some lighting for the plants. So we'll go through what substrate we're going to be using and the process of putting that in. These are the substrates that we're going to be using for the bioactive material at the base of the enclosure to grow the plants in. So the bottom layer is going to be these clay expanding balls. You can get these from Bunnings. So that'll be our lowest drainage layer. And then the majority of our soil is going to be comprised of this organic premium potting mix and this Australian cypress mulch. And then we're going to add in some charcoal and sphagnum moss just to add a bit of airing to it, and charcoal provides a bit of cleaning effect to it. We've also got a few choice branches to put through it for something for the spinies to perch on, and we've also got a few plants to choose from, various Ficus, pandanus, palm, epipremnum, and a Hoya, and some other cuttings. We won't use all of them today, but we'll just see what goes inside the enclosure and what works, and it just gives us a few options to play around with. Pre-wetting the sphagnum moss. So sphagnum moss acts as a sponge for water, so we get to squeeze it out before we add it. We don't want it to be soggy, but it's nice and fluffy and will hold water. And we'll just mix that through so it's a nice even consistency. Next we're going to add a layer of fly screen from Bunnings to stop the soil from mixing in with our drainage layer. So we just cut that to size, and we'll just put that up a little so that none of the soil goes around the sides and it just catches anything from falling over. So that's all nice and fairly even. So next we can go ahead and put our soil layer in. We're going to add the substrate into the enclosure, liberally getting it everywhere. I think we're going to go with the Ficus, but because it was too tall, we've had to cut some of the tops off the leaves from the stems. So we're just going to take it out of the pot and remove some of this soil, because this has fertilizer in it, and just clean it up a bit. So we've removed a fair bit of the original mix that was attached to the roots. So now we can put it inside the terrarium, and it's going to stress a little bit, but it should come back, especially after we gave it a good drink of power feed, which stops it from stressing too much when it's transplanted. So it's good to do this with the plants that you put in a terrarium before you take them out of the pot and remove a lot of the soil. So we've just taken the first plant out, a Hoya, which is a climbing species. That's going to look really good contrasting against the background, which is like a sandstone type. So we just took most of the soil out around and made a little divot for it. So now we're going to put something in this corner. So we'll just make space for the roots to go in here, and we might put one of the Ficus in here because they do really well in terrariums.
Several months later.
All right, welcome back. It's been a few months since we set it up. You can see that the Hoya on the left has grown in substantially, and the Ficus on the right's doing pretty well as well. Definitely had to cut that back a few times. You might also see I set up a automatic misting system up here in the top corner. So this is run from a reservoir in the cabinet below it. So at the moment it's set to every 7 hours it runs for 55 seconds, but you can also set it manually to turn on whenever you want. I'll put a link in the description for that. I'll just turn it on to show you. This is really good value. It was only about, I think, $50 or so. And comes on a couple of times during the day, keeps them moist, hydrated. See one of the Northern Spiny-tails at the front here, getting a good soak. There's also a couple at the back. They're pretty well hidden though. There's another. So, that's how I did it. Pretty happy with the results for my first time doing a bioactive enclosure.